guys, welcome back. So today I want to talk about procrastination, and the reason why I actually chose this topic was because very recently I had gone back to my college of Villamari Degree College, and they asked me to give a guest lecture on procrastination. So of course, since I'm a procrastinator, I thought of course it's quite a relatable topic and everything, and people will relate to it. But after the lecture, a lot of students came up to me and they shared that, you know, like जब हम एक फ्रेंड ग्रुप में बात करते हैं तो ऑटोमेटिकली ये बात निकलती है that okay I had to do this and for some reason I didn't, and a lot of us think that procrastination is linked to laziness, right? Because it's a normal response. Even I used to assume that, but like after my talk and for this talk, the research I did, they all really helped me understand that procrastination is not about laziness by itself. Like procrastination is a byproduct of something deeper. And when those students shared that with me, then I realized that yes, it's actually quite a deep topic. इसलिए क्योंकि a lot of us are mislabeling ourselves, like we are blaming ourselves, when in actuality this is a problem that we can address. Basically it's a problem that we can solve. So today I thought let's try and solve this problem for any of y'all who visit us on YouTube. So obviously इस word का जो meaning है, most of us have heard it. So I want y'all to just, grab your passports and head to procrastination. So this is basically a country where you postpone task indefinitely, do everything else except the task needed to be done. So today let's dive into this wonderful, mind-boggling and at times dangerous world of procrastination and worry about a procrastinator's dilemma, which is to do or not to do. So think of it like Netflix but with deadlines. So let's get started before any of us think कि ये कल करते हैं. So now a lot of us love ice cream, right? And especially Baskin Robbins, like that is personally my favorite. So did you know that Baskin Robbins name, the B and R, actually hides the numbers 3 and 1 in it, which basically stands for the 31 flavors of Baskin Robbins. इसलिए on every month, wherever there are 31 days, on the 31st of those months, they give discount also. See, only Baskin Robbins fans would know this, but now you do too. So this is more incentive of why you should join our live and learn about such amazing stuff. So just like Baskin Robin has 31 flavors, we also have flavors or basically a lot of varieties in procrastination. But yes, they are less tasty and more frustrating. So we have first of all the perfectionist. So these people are the ones who wait for everything is right and then they'll start. The problem is कि once they start, एक तो they need everything perfect. जैसे this is me. Like if I feel I have to start a project, then मतलब I should have the raw materials, the content, and सब कुछ ready होना चाहिए. उसके बाद only I'll start. And even if I do finish the task, then also I'll keep feeling कि कुछ रह गया. Yeah, this can be improved a little bit, and just keep tinkering with it even after the deadline. So why this happens is like obviously the perfectionist would relate to this, that a lot of times we feel कि everything has to look good. Basically, we are running on a different zone. We feel that we have to prove ourselves कि कुछ एक level है, एक bar है which we have to go above and cross it. But sometimes you realize not every project, not every topic deserves that level of perfectionism, not because the topic is less important or has less marks or aisa kuch nahi, but simply because you don't have the bandwidth to do this perfectionism issue always. I learned this the hard way. And especially what happens is you tend to put so much pressure on yourself that you realize that instead of giving my 100% to every single project, it's much better to at least give your 50 or even 70% to the other topics. And that is what's the problem with these perfectionist types. So the second round comes to the overdoer. So these are people who bite off more than they can chew. So they will sign up for college clubs, events, they will say yes to sports and parties, the all rounder, but one who is on the verge of a breakdown. And the point is that you should be very careful of what you're doing in this area, because जितना ज़्यादा pressure हम अपने आप पे डालते हैं उतना ज़्यादा there is a possibility of having a total mental breakdown, simply because you are stretched super thin, you are so stressed. So I'm not saying you have to say no to every responsibility or no to every opportunity. I'm simply saying sometimes you have to take a step back, and that means just evaluating whether you're in the right headspace to do this. Like, for example, there may be a party on the same week, an exam on the same week, and maybe a outing or some sort of sports. So what is important is that you have to figure out, see the test, obviously a lot of people will say test is the most important, and it might be, but it depends. For example, बहुत सारे colleges में there are, weekly tests which don't have anything to do with marks. Now, I'm not saying, and please do not say that, this is like wrong advice or something like that, but sometimes we tend to give more power to the test, so that जब marks वाले test होते हैं, तब we are so, like पके हुए हैं from these tests that we can't even give 100%. So if possible, you can skip it for 1 week, do it on the next week and all that. It depends on whether there is marks involved, attendance involved, and that is all something you can garner from what is important that time. Another thing is sports. So of course, like if you are somebody who is into one sport and you're being consistent, so super great. But on the other hand, if you're somebody who likes to try the sport, then maybe be careful on like which weeks you are giving to which sport. Because I've seen a lot of people and they tend to give their all to sports. And the problem is not the sport. The thing is, they don't want to even go ahead with one sport. They just want to do time pass. They want to, like life make thoda sa fun exercise की तरह लेते हैं. Problem ये होती है that you forget where to draw the line. So that drawing the line is important. Same thing for parties. There will be a lot of parties. Of course, sometimes it's the major ones and you cannot skip that, but sometimes you have to decide that yes, this week is the right time for me to party. Like maybe if you're done with all your exam stress or something like that, it's a midweek, let's go. I have the energy, so great. But there are times when your body itself will tell you that no, this is not the right time. And that time, just listen to your body instead of giving in to FOMO that, oh, all my friends are going, or this is the most popular person's party, vagara, vagara. So then we come to the third variety, the worrier. The one who worries that I haven't studied at all, that I haven't done anything. They will waste time worrying but not solve the problem. So this is basically a lot of us, right? Because we feel that the worry itself is a step in the right direction. Ki, okay, I'm not doing anything, but I'm better than those so-called shameless people who won't even, worry about the problem. So easily you might feel that, okay, come se come, I know that I have a problem. I know that I should be doing something. But the thing is that it's very important that, oh, Amuli, I'm so glad to see you here. Thank you so much for the encouragement. So, yeah, especially when we think about the warrior. So, a lot of times, what you need to remember is that even if you're the one worrying, try and get yourself back into that zone. That acknowledgement is very important, along with the acceptance that, okay, yes, I am worried, but I can actually turn this worry into something productive. So that means I can either get up and actually do whatever I'm worrying about instead of being in a freeze zone. So, a lot of times, especially for very anxious people, when they are worried, they are in a state of freeze. So, that means you might be watching TV, you might be listening to music, you might even be playing video games or doing something that requires your body to function. But mentally, you're in a state of freeze. And that means that your mind is holding you hostage. You are stuck in that anxiety. So, at that time, you can try a simple technique and just ground yourself. And that happens simply by breathing. Whether that is a very simple technique of mindfulness or box breathing or even some general deep breaths. Anything that gets you back in control of your own body is important. So, when we think of the fourth variety, which is the dreamer, so these are the ones who think that they'll enjoy after the exams while writing the exam and basically kyali biryani pakana in their heads. So a lot of us have experienced this, right? Because it'll be the last day of the exam and you'll be thinking ki summer holidays mein nani ke ghar jana hai and so many other things while you're writing the exam because it's like chalo at least it's just done. I just have to finish these 3 weeks and 3 hours of the exam and that's it, freedom and everything. But that is the time when we have to get our brain back to the task at hand and actually concentrate and be like, yes, now is the time that I can dream a little later. I have to actively think about what I'm doing right now. So procrastination comes in that form as well. And now the fifth type, which is the crisis maker. So they are purposely the ones who do something at the last possible minute and cause themselves stress. They are basically the khatron ke khiladi types. They have to submit an assignment today and they are writing while the teacher is collecting it. So these, of course, are many of the varieties where we have seen these people in offices, in classrooms, in colleges, or even we've been them. So, this is not to call you out, but to just tell you that yes, there is a way so that you cannot do these things any longer because, in the long run, we are only hurting ourselves. Like, especially the crisis makers, these are people who are actively just trying to seek some thrill. They crave that stress rush and they feel कि नहीं, I cannot do something unless there is a deadline behind it or unless there is a crisis actually behind me. They feel that something always has to be over my head like a Damocles sword, and that is the only way I can get things done. But we fail to realize that this really affects our nervous system. Like in the long run, your nervous system is overwrought with anxiety, and the nerves really do take a hit. So, basically, if you are one of those, please try and stop doing things at the absolute last moment only for your mental health. So a lot of these types might overlap as well. Like you don't have to think that it'll be only I'm part one, part three, or part five. No. A lot of times it's simply that we are different types regarding different subjects, regarding different phases of our lives as well. So now we come to the next type, which is the napper. So they open the books, they nap. Before doing anything, they nap. In class, they nap. So this is basically a form of procrastination, but in the way that they want to feel comfortable and they feel that हमारी जो energy है वो खर्च करने से पहले ही I should replenish, you know. And this also happens because first they get bored of the task, so they automatically have assumed that the task is boring. So they will just directly जैसे ही books खोली वैसे ही सो गए. And another thing that happens with these sort of people is they also have a tendency to like a lot of people think they are lazy or they are lethargic or they are dull, but there is also anxiety going on in their body and mind because of which they are already tired and that causes the sleepiness. So if this is you, be careful of the patterns, be careful of the amount of tension you're taking into your body because other people might not see it because of your nonchalant attitude, and that is why you may have not even recognized this in yourself. But if possible, avoid it because it would be the same problem as the guys who leave things at the last minute. So coming to the next type, which is the list maker. So these people love to make to-do lists, but they will never check off anything. Like they will invest time on the list, they will make it beautiful, they will even plan, but they'll never work on the items. It's just a way of keeping themselves busy and feeling ki yes, I've done something. I've made a timetable, I've made a chart, I've made a to-do list, and that's all. So I don't need to take action. Like for me personally, there was a time when I felt that okay, yes, I should learn certain things, I should practice. So what I did was, started another YouTube channel or whatever, and on that playlist, I started adding everything. Any course I wanted to try, any skill I wanted to learn, and I just spent, I think, a lot of hours making this playlist and saving it, sharing it, and everything. To be honest, I never watched one video because all I cared was about preparing and scheduling, and that gave me the high I was looking for. So you should just be careful if you're one of these people, that are you doing something because it'll help you accomplish a task, or are you doing something just to waste time, और जस्ट टू गिव योर सेल्फ सांत्वना, कि हाँ, मैंने थोड़ा बहुत एफर्ट लिया है, मैंने थोड़ा बहुत प्लानिंग किया है, सो दैट्स इनफ. Be careful of that, because that's a loop that you cannot always ignore. And let's come to the favorite variety, which is the watcher. These are ones who will keep Netflix and Prime in business and just say ek or episode, just one more movie, just the next season, and anything. So, see, when we say that, it's a great way for entertainment, but a lot of times it is something that keeps us away from our sleep, from our actual work. So, one way to combat this would be to use it as a reward system. So, instead of saying that after one more episode I will study, how about you reward yourself with one episode after you study? It's a very small difference, but the phrasing might really help you come to terms with your task at hand. And this is especially useful when you are doing anything that you love doing, like when you're doing masters. So these are the subjects you have chosen, or when you're even trying for a PhD, or even doing it. So obviously you chose to do a PhD, it's not forced. But what might happen is that the overall stress, the anxiety, and everything else might cause you to really be worried. And that worry is causing you to just push away stuff. Like I know PhD students personally who felt that, I know what I'm supposed to do, or there might even be the variety who doesn't. So that uncertainty, that okay, मुझे पता है कि मेरे को इतने researches करनी है, या ये research paper पढ़ना है, but I'm still confused about the process. I don't know if I should, if I can. All that uncertainty translates into you procrastinating. So next we come to the gamer and the snacker. So they are in the same boat as the watcher. Now I need lunch, I'm sleepy. It's just I've woken up, but I need one more snack. Now I need something sweet and just one more level. Oh wait, it's a new game update. So you get the idea. So these are again people who just want to, basically these are people who pay a lot of attention to what their body wants, and they tend to give that way more importance than what the brain needs as nourishment. The problem is that all these things, like snacks, like sweets, like game, all these things should be used as a reward system rather than making them a part of your day, unless you're doing this professionally. So that's where the wrong things start coming in. So next we come to the social sharer. So these are people who like posting their task and how it should be done on social media. Like they have to organize their cupboard, so they'll make a video showing how to, but they'll be too busy shooting, editing, posting to actually organize. And so these people are not necessarily chasing clout on the internet, but what they do is they drive. They already make themselves comfortable. They already satisfy themselves. That now, if you follow Josh Autosania on Instagram, then you know what I'm talking about. Because the more you tell people, the more you share that okay, मैंने ये करना है या मैंने कर लिया, so your brain, you're basically telling your brain that oh, it's already done. We have received the dopamine which we would have gotten if we would have actually done the task, and now we are satisfied. And that task has just gone forever. It's dead. So that's why, unless you finish the task, avoid sharing it with people, because the more number of people you tell, the more your brain is understanding that I'm already done. And then it is very difficult to get the motivation to start again or even finish the task, because there are certain tasks like cleaning, like studying, like working, that we cannot postpone forever, that they have to be done at some point. But the more difficult we make it, the more difficult our lives are going to be. So next we come to the internet researcher. So this one is more linked to ADHD, because they become more fixated on a topic and do PhD level research about it, leaving essential tasks. Now, I'm one of those, and even though I do actually have ADHD, but yes, I feel the more stressed I am, the more I need something to get fixated on. Like personally, whenever I have exams or something like that, I always manage to find a new serial, a book, a music video, anything to just play on repeat, play on loop till it gets stuck into my head. It's my way of escaping my anxiety, but yes, all I do at that time is just waste my time. I know I should definitely work on that. And so, as a fellow ADHD, I'm telling you as well, try and get out of the loop. And if you know how to, please do share it with me as well. So now Bollywood itself has a lot of examples of procrastinators. So when we think about Ishan in Tare Zameen Par, so he hated studying because obviously he didn't know how to unless he found a great mentor. In Wake Up Sid, he procrastinates till he finds his interest, his passion, and that is photography. Because when work becomes pleasure, he excels at it. Then we have Farhan from Three Idiots, who didn't care for engineering. So there was no motivation, no effort, no focus. And in the movie Queen, Rani doesn't let anything stop her from going on her solo honeymoon, even her own fears. So basically, resistance and rebellion is just an attitude adjustment. And here we are saying that procrastination for a lot of people comes up into being that no, I cannot change and nor do I want to. The thing about that is that these coping mechanisms are not hurting anyone except you. So इसीलिए this podcast today, this live I started today simply because there was a time when I used to feel the same, that see, I'm not hurting anybody else or there's no problem in my behavior as such. So why should I change? Because we feel that एक बार if we have to accept that yes, my behavior somewhere along the way can be better, it can be improved, it can be changed, then we are basically admitting that I was wrong at some part of time. And what I've come to realize is that yes, it's very difficult to make that acceptance, to validate ourselves or to stop validating ourselves in that way. But kabhi kabhi it's very necessary, because the coping mechanisms or the behaviorisms or mannerisms we had at one point in our life do not have to keep continuing forever. So if you can recognize these habits or mannerisms in yourself, so maybe it's time to make a positive change for nobody else except you. So, what are some ways that we can make this change happen? So, let's discuss some actionable tips. One way is the Eisenhower matrix. And basically, if you just search this on Google, you will get four separate blocks. And it is a really good chart, because it's super easy to just tackle on the first try in itself. So, basically, we'll be dividing tasks into importance and urgency. So you have four blocks. So for example, the first one is which is both urgent and important. Like this can be supposing if you have internals tomorrow. So obviously you have to study because it is urgent tomorrow and it is linked to your marks, so important. Now supposing if we say that you have to learn a new language, it's very important, but it doesn't have a deadline. So we'll schedule it. Like we'll say, okay, let's practice Duolingo for 5 minutes at every day at 5 p.m. And this goes in this box. And then you have the third box, which is basically what you can do. So if you have a group project, you can just divide it on the basis of ability. So it becomes manageable. And then, so for example, if you have internals tomorrow, so you don't have to work on the group project. So you can schedule that little later. It is important at some point, but it's not urgent. And of course, the last one is that it can be delegated. Now, for example, if it is that I have to clean my house or my room, for example, for more relatable content. So if you have to clean your room, you don't have to do it the day you have an exam. Obviously, even your parents would understand that. So at that point, you can do it either after the exam or at some later day, which suits your schedule. So the Eisenhower matrix is really amazing. Please do go and try it. And so next we see who remembers the cute song called Lal Tomato Badi Mazadar. So when we think about tomato song, there is a timer called the Pomodoro timer, and I don't know why, but whenever I say Pomodoro, I remember tomato for some reason. So why this timer is quite effective is you will study or work for 25 minutes, take a 5 minutes break, and this 5 minutes you can either stretch your legs or you can do some eye exercises to avoid eye strain and avoid getting headaches, or then you can just continue your 25-minute cycle. Do this till you've studied till at least 2 hours or whatever you can take, and then you get a longer break of 30 minutes. Either you can take a power nap, have some food, watch TV, or even do your Insta streaming or whatever. So these two variables, when you combine them that way, you can really make a powerhouse of a timer. Like this is the time you can actually spend, whether that is 25 minutes and 30 minutes. So this is how you can train your brain to actually concentrate when it is important and not overwork yourself. So scientifically, this technique improves both memory and concentration. Now coming to the 2 minute rule. So the 2 minute rule is not related to food. It's not about that agar kuch gir gaya to 2 second mein kha sakte ho. No. We are talking about that if a task takes 2 minutes, just do it. So for example, you reach home, you're tired and you feel like ab kapde kaun badlega, baad mein badalte hain, pehle let me have lunch. So just tell yourself, I just have to remove my clothes, I just have to throw them in the dry cleaning hamper, and that's it. I just have to remove my shoes, just my socks, and that's it. So when you think like that, it really helps because any task that takes only 2 minutes can be done in just 2 minutes. Do not consider cooking noodles in these 2 minutes. It doesn't happen. But yeah, anything else, please do. And then also another point is a task is amazing for parents, especially because it'll help you not getting scolded. Like anything in the 2 minute rule is basically what your parents are telling you. Ki plate rakhao kitchen mein and all that. So it can really help you, be the apple of your parents' eyes. I'm just kidding. Brown parents are never happy. So next we come to the time blocking technique. So this is basically dividing your day into chunks and making sure your whole concentration is on the sector you're working on. So a lot of us feel that we are really good at multitasking. And to be honest, I used to think that as well. But according to recent research, there is nothing actually known as multitasking. The issue is that you just shift your whole attention from one task to the other, which can really waste your time and also interfere with your mental prowess. So, for example, if there are tasks which are regarding, let's say you're writing assignments, and if you're writing assignments and you say, okay, I will shift from English to history to science. It's fine. You can do that because it will give you a little bit of a change. Now, for example, on the other hand, if you think that, okay, if I will write 1 page of English, 1 page of history, and 1 page of science, that would be incredibly stupid, right? Because every time you would have had to shift the content. So this is just an example to let you know that similar tasks, when you multitask them, can really cause more problems rather than helping you solve time. So on the other hand, if you're doing accounts, try and listen to music. It really helps. If you're cooking, listen to podcasts. Basically, mix two separate tasks where you need two separate sense organs. That is the correct way to multitask. For me, that is listening to true crime and playing video games. But yeah, you do you. And so basically, Time blocking helps you focus on one task for a longer period. So instead of cramming everything, it prevents you from being overwhelmed and increases the quality of each task. And now we come to the thing that all of us do, which is the revenge bedtime procrastination. So what happens is during the day we are busy with our lives, with our classes, with our work, and we feel that we don't have हमारे लिए time. We feel that, oh my God, I had to do this, or I can't watch TV, and where is my me time? And to get back that me time, we tend to stay awake later in the night so that we can be alone with our thoughts. We feel like we are reclaiming our time lost. The problem is that we are putting our morning self in danger with this, because the later you sleep, the more problems your future morning self has from you. So, if possible, try and give yourself back some moments, especially if you can do that at normal times, such as the day or the afternoon or the evening. Like one way is, if you have really for example, people who have hobbies like knitting or crochet, so if you can do those activities while traveling to and fro from work, it might really help. On the other hand, if you're into, for example, reading or video games, try and have them on a portable device, which again you can do during your lunch break, or convert your traveling from home and work, etc. How this helps is basically that you get enough sleep, because it comes a time when our brain tricks us by saying future you will handle the consequences, but future you is tired of your shenanigans. Stop making them work overtime. And so when we come to the psychological aspect, so procrastination isn't just a habit, it's connected to some deep rooted psychological processes. It's fear of failure, it's low self esteem, anxiety, you name it. Sometimes it's less about being lazy and more about protecting our fragile egos, because it's like building a pillow fort to avoid the monsters, except the monsters are due dates and the pillow fort is Insta. So, a lot of times we feel that we are doing the right thing by procrastinating. We feel that I'm taking back my life, or I'm just giving myself some me time. But there are better ways of doing that without the guilt of feeling that I am actually not doing something. Because when you are guilty, or when you're thinking of the task, you are not letting yourself relax fully. There is a lot of tension in your jaws. You might have your jaws fully clenched. There might be a tension on your shoulders, and so on. When you really notice your body, you will see that your body is not free. So try and procrastinate in a way that is better, as in procrastinate about small items, that okay, I have to wake up 5 more minutes and other such stuff is fine. But to constantly put your nervous system under strain is not a really good idea. And also avoid negative talk. Like, please, a lot of my clients come and say that I'm procrastinating because I'm lazy, I can never change, or मैं ऐसी ही हूँ, I don't want to change and all that. But the fact that you're talking about it in therapy means that you're considering it a pretty big point. It's really causing your life to be affected, and that means it's time to change. So we love daydreaming, and whether it's what will I have for lunch, what will I wear to the party, and so on. It is so much fun thinking about our past, our present, our future, and basically anything to not concentrate on the boring task on hand. But it's very important to just bring yourself back every time you feel your mind is wandering. Just bring it back. This is basically a trick that my school counselor had once told me, because I used to just keep going away ख्यालों में कहीं भी. And the problem with this is that you tend to get really lost and not come back at a good time. So, for example, you can always schedule it that, okay, yes, I will go into my daydreaming and I will think about my whatever dream scenario gets into my head while I'm sleeping or before I'm sleeping. Have a timeline. I'm just giving an example. It can be anything. It can be 5 p.m. while I'm drinking coffee and Oreos. Anything. but just schedule a time. Because jitni baar bhi you bring your mind back, jitni baar bhi you convince yourself that yes, I'll do it when I have time, that's the future CEO talking. The sooner you will be right on track. So, remember Nike's slogan, just do it. That's what I want you to do with this exercise. And of course, there is this vicious cycle is there of procrastination that it just becomes an endless roller coaster. It might make you feel nice and even amazing to be a procrastinator in the short term. But in the long run, especially in organizational settings, you might be setting yourself up for hardships in a very competitive world. So, when we think about another trick that works is speed reading. Now, speed reading is almost a superpower and it will help you devour text in hours, not days. So, basically, it is a combination of skimming, chunking, and guiding. And there are various courses and apps that you can check out for speed reading. So basically, speed reading is when you skim. Now, the meaning of skimming is that when there's a line, so instead of going word by word, you go over the sentence like this. You just pick up all the words and jumble and put them in order like yourself. And why this helps is basically you are going to be guessing in some sense what the next words are. Now, of course, this doesn't work always. Like, of course, you should not do this in exams, like, especially in the English grammar paper or your IELTS exam. But yeah, when you have, for example, kal exam and you have 10 chapter or sirf do chapter pade hain, so yes, skimming might help simply because it's better to have some information than no information at all, at least passing mark. So there are various courses and apps, and you can absolutely explore the skill. So average reading speed is 200 to 400 words per minute. But if you're an avid reader, you can have a speed of up to 600 words per minute, which is my reading speed. So with speed reading, you can go up to 1000 words per minute. And if you want to check how fast is your reading speed, there are apps for that as well. So one thing about speed reading is you cannot do it all the time because it'll cause a lot of eye strain and headaches. It's basically good for high tension or less time invasive measures when you are basically have a paucity of time. So now we come to productivity tools and basically how would we, which app should we use so that we can beat this procrastination monster? So, if you're an environmentalist, the Forest app is amazing because it's an app where the longer you adhere to your task, you can transform a small sapling into a forest and they will plant real trees according to your progress. So, you're saving the planet as well. Another one that I love is Habatica, which is basically it gamifies your entire strategy and it makes you fight a war with procrastination. Now, be careful, it's very strict because the more tasks you miss, they just kill you off the game. Like, of course, you can always try, but you lose your gold and you have to reincarnate at the lowest level possible. But I think there is no better motivation than losing everything you worked so hard for. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. So, Magical is another app, and it is about giving all your repetitive, mind numbing tasks to AI, like sorting your email. So, remember the Eisenhower matrix? So, in the fourth column, we had all the tasks that can be delegated to somebody. Now, of course, like a lot of us who are watching this video may not be CEOs at this point of time, though I wish you all to be them in the future and remember me at that time. But yeah, right now, a lot of us will not have secretaries who we can pass on to and be like, Sharon, would you take care of this? Or Keith, would you just take care of my emails? So for all those sort of tasks which require an actual person, Magical is super awesome. And then, as the name suggests, you have Evernote, which is for taking notes, but it has tons of amazing features like handwriting recognition, cool colors, voice notes, and so on. For the to-do list makers, you have the Todoist. And Zapier is known to save 10 plus hours. So it integrates your calendars, your social email, productivity apps all in one place. There are countless more, but I've picked the most successful ones. So remember, You are the warrior, it's you who's fighting against procrastination, but these apps are your weapons. So, I think most of us are musicophiles, right? Like, there are very few people who do not like music. So, did you know that, like music, which has a lot of different genres, even noise has various categories? So, did you know there is white noise, brown noise, pink noise, and a lot of other colors as well? But what I want to discuss today are just three noises, which is white. So, white is like a soothing blanket for your brain. So, for example, let's say ocean waves. It improves focus. So, whenever you want to really concentrate, play white noise. Pink noise is like a harmony conductor for your thoughts. Example, nature sounds. It reduces stress. So, whenever you're feeling a panic attack setting in, pink noise is the way to go. Brown noise is like an energizing hug for your focus. Example, rainfall. It enhances creativity. So, if you're thinking of doing some sort of an art project or maybe even a group project where you want to think in a different way, especially for people who are in marketing, if you want to look at something in a different way, then brown noise is the way for you. And you can also use white noise to calm your mind before focusing, then switch to brown noise to boost productivity, and finish with pink noise to maintain balance. So basically, if you just go on YouTube as well, you can find the playlist for all these three types of noises, and they are an amazing combination to really get your creative juices flowing. And next, we come to some time management books. So for the bibliophiles here, Eat That Frog. So this doesn't refer to literal frogs, but it basically means finish your hardest task first. Like a lot of us, when we are eating lunch or dinner, we might leave the last morsel, right? So it depends on what sort of person are you. Are you the person who leaves your favorite item for the last or eats that first? Let me know in the comments. And in a similar way, Eat That Frog is simply जो भी difficult task होता है, most of us are like नहीं, I'll finish the small chapters, the probability वाले maths chapters before, and then take the leave the hardest for the last. But what happens is, on the whole evening or night or whatever, we tend to worry about the hard task. वो हमारे दिमाग में रहता है कि कब खत्म होगा, will I be able to do it? What if uh, that is the one which is the most important, right? So at that time, try and do the big task first so that you will be at ease and you can do the small tasks like this. And most of us have no trouble starting a task, but we do have an issue finishing them. So, Finish is a cheat guide to completing every task and clearing it from our mind and schedule. Now, there is also a book called QBQ, and this concentrates on personal accountability and helps you have a success mindset. Free to Focus is another book that has a 3 point system of stop, cut, and act. So basically, it helps us understand what is important in our life, what has to be thrown out, and what has to be acted upon. It is similar to the Eisenhower matrix. And the joy of missing out is the opposite of FOMO. So this book explains how saying no to some things lets you concentrate on more important events. And this is something I am really bad at, and I'm trying to work on it as well. Let me know if it works for you. So, if you want to do some courses and learn a lot of other tricks, there are some great platforms that you have free courses with free certificates on time management, procrastination, concentration, memory. So, they are full of actionable tips and not to mention a great addition to your CVs as a soft skill. So those sort of sites are basically LinkedIn Learning. There is Coursera, there is Udemy, of course, there is Allison's Academy, and there is, I think, a lot of other tasks which I'll share in the comments below. So up till now, we have discussed everything that we can change in ourselves, but what about external distractions? So for that, you have something called techno stress, which is where we are overwhelmed by our electronics. So now there is always on every Android and Apple device, you have focus mode, which is basically when you turn it on, you can select the apps which will not send you any notifications. Like for example, Zomato has a way of saying "I love you" every hour so that we can order. That is, of course, our Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, which just constantly sends us notifications. And of course, if you're listening to music while studying, make sure that you use those study and focus playlists rather than your favorite songs. Because favorite songs you'll tend to sing along, even dance along. So automatically the study and focus playlist are made so that you will pay more attention, and also, if possible, make sure that your volume has to be less than half, because the louder the music, the harder it is for you to actually concentrate. If you all remember the sneakers ad, like no matter the emotion, we want food, and जब तू hungry होता है तो एकदम heroine बन जाता है. So this extends to when we are bored as well. If you're pressed for time, then pay attention to what and how much you eat, because it might lead to lethargy, indigestion, and sleepiness. Like a lot of times we want to have a full lunch during exams and be like, अब पढ़ाई करते हैं. On the other hand, the moment your parents are out of the room, you'll just go to sleep after your rajma chawal, kadhi chawal, chole chawal. So just be careful on what you're eating. If possible, have a very light meal so that some part of you is in a little bit of discomfort. The more hungry you feel, the more less comfortable your body feels in terms of temperature, the better you will stay awake and not go to sleep or not do anything else. And if in case you're a serial procrastinator, what might help is setting all your time devices 15 minutes early. And along with that, what you can do is if there is a deadline for submission, let's say it's on the 20th, so mark it as 15th. Because after a point of time, you won't remember this, but it gives you that extra 5 days. So even though you may not complete it on time in consideration of your fake deadline, you might make it in time of your real deadline. And after all, we just want these tricks, tips, cheat sheets to just help us win in life. So that's why this trick is awesome. And of course, one thing that is also helpful is to have an accountability partner, like maybe a friend, tell them what your goal of the day is. And why this helps is because किसी को बता दिया ना, so that means you are responsible. There is some part of you that wants to impress them, or wants to let them know. Like for me, that is one of my best friends. Like Amulya just posted, so she's my accountability partner. In college, there was a time when there was a teacher of mine who made us message her as an accountability partner. That was Shrestha ma'am. And so that way, if it can be anyone who you want, some people even use AI. If that is who you're comfortable with, do that. So basically, I feel today was a really good session because we did it and we didn't procrastinate and say we'll do it tomorrow. So if this resonates with you, please do comment and let me know, and please do subscribe to our channel. Thank you.